Heather Abrams from Tamalpais Valley Community Service District. And she's going to tell us a little bit about how they've responded and are responding to everything. So welcome, Heather.
Thank you very much. So just a little bit of introduction on the Tamalpais Community Services District. We have a sewer collection enterprise. We also have a solid waste collection enterprise and rec and park. So we do a little bit of everything for a very small community, about 10,000 residents, 13 full-time staff. About 2 of those are assigned full-time to the sewer enterprise. So what you see here is we've had our share of disasters, and I just want to advise you, whether you're working in a small local agency or a larger one, to be really prepared for a variety of potential disasters. When you are in a small agency, you get to get a lot of variety of experience and touch a lot of areas, which is really great. But it also means you need to think outside the box as far as what you're planning on doing. And I appreciate you bearing with me. It seems I've caught a cold even with all that masking and working from home and isolation. And I just got test results back, and it's not COVID-19. But wanted to, kind of highlight that we started changing our PPE practices even in 2017. We had first flooding and landslides that affected our piping system, of course, and then the Tubbs fire is when we started buying N95 masks for our people. Before that, that hadn't been part of our PPE. And then we also had issues, for example, we had staff that was evacuated overnight from their own home and then showed up for work the next morning. So some things to think about. We're also preparing for PSPSs this year again. We know that in the middle of all of this COVID and other issues, that we will lose power because we are in a tier 2 fire area. We have significant fire issues. And of course, COVID-19 has required us to really make sure that we have plenty of supplies of PPE, and then also thinking about the other issues that have affected us, including, racial injustice, which has caused various concerns on the highway, and also, for our staff members who have had issues with being pulled over by police and things like that. So going to the next slide, please. Oh, I think we skipped one. There's one that says preparation. There you go. So I would advise you to make sure you have minimum PPE at all times, and that's something that you really need to schedule to make sure and maintain and check. Even when you think you have everything you need, it's a good idea to kind of put that on the schedule. And then test your equipment. We did some things differently this year. We bought we have a large generator that supplies basically 3 out of 4 pump stations, but one pump station needs a mobile generator, shore power essentially. And that was all wired up and had plugs for shore power, and we thought that was all ready, and when we plugged it in, it ran backwards. So need to make sure that you have tested all those things, especially those areas where you feel confident that you've already handled that situation. Also, we have a contract call center for emergency sewer calls, and we needed to make sure that they had power during PSPS and that they didn't get sick during the COVID-19. And then lastly, I would just recommend that you make sure and work very closely with your local agencies, other water and wastewater agencies. BAYWORK is a great example of that. But we can share equipment and even personnel if we need to in a disaster, and that's critical. And we've also worked very closely with the county emergency operations center, especially during this COVID-19 situation, to get information and to get emergency PPE if we needed it. So that's very important. Next slide, please. Just a little bit more about some of our creative solutions. So we had to actually dig into our rec and park to get sanitizer and hand sanitation. So we got a fog machine company that actually is supplying our hand sanitizer gel, and another company from the theatrical world that is doing spray sanitation. And so I really encourage you to be creative and kind of put your small business hat on in terms of finding those supplies that you need. We've been able to use our voice over IP to take phone calls from home, and laptops and whatnot as well. So that's been very important. And the next slide. I would encourage you to be very, very clear with your board, with your customers, and with all of the staff to make sure and communicate how you're planning through this emergency. COVID-19 has had us changing plans, if not every week, maybe even every day sometimes. So very important for people at all levels to feel like they know what's going on, even sometimes when you don't exactly know what's going on, that you have a plan, and you may not know exactly where you're going, but you know how to get there. So I would encourage you to really be careful to communicate both what you are and are not able to do during this disaster.